Hi guys, welcome back to the Makeup Hunter. In today's video I'm super excited. I have kind of combined two videos that I wanted to film in one. So I have some fun new makeup that I have sort of collected over the last week or so. I took a little bit of a break from purchasing makeup. I was on a little bit of a makeup hiatus. But me and my mum went shopping a couple of times and I picked up a couple of bits in store, and then I got a couple of bits online that I've been excited to share with you. I also really wanted to film a autumn inspired look. This is my absolute favourite time of the year. I feel like I come into my own a little bit at this time of year, in fashion, makeup, all that sort of thing. So I've combined the two. So we're doing this look that I have on today, which is a very autumnal look. But I'm also using quite a few of the products that I've had new. So I'm going to be sharing this look with you and my purchases. So if that does sound like something you would be interested in seeing, then do please keep watching. Also, if you haven't already, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would subscribe to my channel. I love making new friends here on YouTube. So yeah, if you like the look of me and want to see more from me, please do subscribe to my channel, and let's get on with the video. Okay guys, so as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've got a mixture of brand new products that I've never tried before, and I've also got what's in my current Shop My Stash rotation, which I'll be pulling from to subsidise the gaps in my routine, because I don't have well, actually I do have a full face of new products, but I don't want to do a full face of new products, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited to film this video because I have a new setup, completely new setup. I've got new lighting, I've got a new table which I'm working from, and this is my first time filming from this new setup. So it's only a temporary setup until my bedroom is decorated, but I'm hoping it'll make the whole filming process a lot smoother. So anyway, enough blabber, let's get on. So one of the products that I don't actually have with me, I forgot to grab it from my collection, and as I'm working from this new setup, I've set up all my table on my bed. If I go and grab it, I'm gonna have to dismantle everything and start again, because this new setup only works when I'm sitting in one position. So once I'm set up, I can't move. So the only product that I am missing that I've got that I own is, I did go ahead and pick up another tube of Huda Beauty Glowish. I mentioned in a previous video that I was using this little sample of 04 light medium. My shade is the #1 fair, but I'd got a sample of a darker tone that I was using mixed in with foundations, and I'd mentioned that I was considering picking one up. Well, I did. I just went ahead and got, they hadn't got 4, which is light medium. I got 5, which is tan, which I thought would be perfect, because the way I use this is to sort of like boost my lighter foundations for when I've got a fake tan on. So I've shown my Glowish in a video before, but yeah, I have now got 2 full-size tubes and this little sample. I'm not going to be using my Glowish today, hence why I haven't got it over here with me. I'm actually going to go in with primer. I'm going to be using my Beauty Pie All in Wonder primer. This is an illuminating primer, and it's actually, it's not as glowy as Glowish. I much prefer Glowish to mix in with foundations, whereas I like using this as a primer. This is very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury, is it Wonder Glow? Yeah, I think it's Wonder Glow, which is like a glowy primer. It has a very light amount of coverage to it, but it adds a really nice glow, and it's quite hydrating as well. So it's a lovely base for makeup. So I'm just going to apply this all over my face and just let that soak in. So that's what it looks like. Obviously you can see leaves a really nice glow. Okay, and I am actually going to go in with a second primer just to target certain areas, and I'm going to be using my e.l.f. Universal Poreless Putty Primer. This is what it looks like, and I'm just going to apply this in the areas that I have more enlarged pores. So here at the sides of my nose, and you don't need a lot of this at all, a little bit goes a long way. Okay, and for foundation I'm going for something a little bit more of a lighter coverage, so I've picked from my Shop My Stash my Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder. This is a youth boosting perfect skin foundation with SPF 15. This has quite a light coverage but a beautiful glow. It's gorgeous for those days where I still want to look glam and put together, but I don't want to go for something sort of like matte full coverage. So that's why I'm not going to be mixing in my Glowish, because this is glowy enough on its own. So I like to apply this foundation with my fingers initially, and then just go over with a sponge just to soak up any excess product. And the shade that I have in this foundation is number 2 Fair, and it's the perfect shade for me when I am not tanned. And I'm just going to blend that in with my fingers. Okay, and then once I've blended that in, like pretty much I'd be happy with, you know, with that blend, but I just want to sort of soak up a little bit of the extra product that's sitting on my skin, and to make sure that it's actually melded with my skin rather than sitting on top. So I'm just going to take my dampened beauty sponge and just tap over everything. There we go. That's my foundation all done. Okay, so while I've just been off camera, all I've done is literally just tidied a couple of things away, and I've put on some of my Dior Addict lip maximizer just to prepare my lips for a lip product at the end of the video. So I am going to just share very briefly with you one of the products that I've had new, which is I am going to be trying on but later in the video. This is a full size of the Dior Addict lip maximizer. I mentioned in my favourites video that I have quite a few of these little sample size ones that I like to apply at the beginning of my makeup routine, and that I wanted to pick up a full size one. The one that I'd looked at online that I thought I was going to pick up was the shade, I think it's beige. It's number 13 beige, and that is the one that I decided to go for. I preferred the shade Rosewood when I actually looked at it in store, but they'd sold out, so I went with the shade beige. So I will be using this, but I will be using this towards the end of the video, as I still have some of my sample left. I'm just going to use that to sort of prep my lips until it runs out. I absolutely love this product. It's super duper hydrating. It plumps out the lines in my lips and just leaves a perfect base for lip liner and lipstick. So I'm just going to apply my concealer now, and I don't have a new concealer. I'm going to be using my Nabla Close-Up Concealer, which is out of my stash, and I'm not going for a super heavy glam look. I am going for glam, but not like full beat glam. I am going to be doing a autumn inspired makeup look, but I'm still wanting it to look light and natural, if that makes sense. I think when we think of autumn makeup, we automatically think of matter, more full coverage than we've been wearing, you know, for the rest of the year, like especially in spring and summer. As the months get colder, I start to think of more full coverage, more matte looks. But my taste in makeup has changed completely, and whilst I think matte full coverage has its place, it's not something that I particularly find myself gravitating towards. So whereas I'm not wearing quite as sweaty, juicy looking base products as I did in the spring and summer, I still want it to be like a natural glow and to have some radiance to my skin. And this Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder foundation is absolutely perfect for that. There we go. And that Nabla concealer I find to be self-setting, so it is quite a matte finish to the concealer. It's not super glowy under my eyes, but I do find as we wear thicker layers and we go into stores that have, you know, the heating on full blast and things like that, I do find my mascara, my bottom mascara, does transfer if I don't set my under eye area and certain areas of my face. So I am going to set under my eyes with my Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I do have a new powder for the rest of my face, but literally just for under my eyes I want to go for this Cover FX one, and it really is the perfect powder for under the eyes. It's very light, it doesn't look cakey at all. It has a little bit of radiance to it, but not too much, and it never looks powdery. It just does what I need it to. Okay, and now moving on to some new fun products. So the first product I'm going to be using on my face today, which is brand new, is the new Huda Beauty Glowish setting powder. Now, with my deep-seated love for Glowish, the skin tint, I absolutely knew I wanted to pick up some more from this line. She only had the skin tint, a bronzer and 2 brushes for her initial launch, and she's now expanded into setting powder and blushes, which I have here. So I got the shade 1 Fair in the powder. And this can actually be used as a foundation. So on the campaign pictures and videos, Huda actually used it with a damp sponge and applied it like a powder foundation. That's not something I'm really interested in doing. I just want to use it as a setting powder. I'm really hoping that I get a similar vibe from this as I do the Kosas Cloud Set powder, which I absolutely love, and also the Dior Powder No Powder. So this is what the powder looks like. It does have a very slight radiance to it. I haven't put my finger in this or touched it or anything, so wow, okay, it's so creamy and silky. Definitely has a glow to it, so I'm quite glad I didn't put this under my eyes and just set with the Cover FX. I'm going to use this to set all over like the perimeter of my face and my chin. So I think I'm going to use this small little Zoeva brush. This is a Luxe highlight brush, but I can sort of be a little bit more targeted with my application, and also this is a nice fluffy brush. So let's try this. I've been so excited about this powder. Ooh. Okay. Okay, it definitely has some coverage to it. I had a little bit of redness on my chin, which you can see it's taken down, and you can definitely see the radiance there, and definitely see quite a bit of radiance on my cheeks. That is lovely. Wow, it almost it is a very glowy powder. This I can't imagine being very good for anybody with an oilier skin type, and definitely if you like a powder that's mattifying, you are not going to like this at all. I mean, look at that glow that it's left behind. But I actually absolutely love that. That's gorgeous. Beautiful. Love that. I'm so happy with that. So that is the Glowish powder, and I also picked up the Glowish Bronzer. This wasn't one that I was interested in particularly on when it first launched with the skin tint originally. I've got a lot of bronzers that I absolutely love, and I really wasn't interested in picking it up, but like I say, because I fell in love with Glowish so much and I've heard such good things about the bronzer, I wanted to give it a go. So I picked one up, and I took a little bit of a risk, and I actually went for shade 2 medium. Usually in most things I'm the lightest shade, but the lightest shade looked really light, like it would almost like the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer that barely shows up on my skin. I can build it up to give me a little bit of a golden glow, but when it comes to bronzer I do want something that packs a little bit more of a punch. I also picked up, finally, Benefit Hula Glow. Now I really enjoy the original Hula, but I do like a glowy bronzer, and I was really excited when Benefit finally released it in the glowy version. I haven't used this one yet, and I have been debating between the two, but I think I am going to go for, yeah, I'm going to go for Glowish. I might actually use the both. I might go for Glowish first and then right at the end perhaps do a little dusting of Hula Glow. But I have been really curious about this bronzer. So this is the packaging, same as the powder, just with the the bronze colour to it. And I mean, this is shade 2 medium, and I still think it's quite a light coloured bronzer. Obviously it's a marbled bronzer, so it's going to be a little bit customizable depending on where you put your brush and how much of each section you pick up. So I'm hoping it's going to work for me. I'm going to go for the larger version of the brush that I just used for the powder. This is the Luxe Face Definer from Zoeva, and I'm going to just literally just go all around. It's not a particularly powdery bronzer. The powder had a little bit of kick up, but the bronzer really doesn't have any. And yeah, I definitely made the right decision in going for the medium shade. I think the fair probably wouldn't show up on me, especially if I've got any sort of false tan on. So that's shade 2 medium, and again, like the powder, it has a lovely radiance to it. It's a very creamy bronzer. In fact, the first time I got my first Glowish, the girl on the Huda stand was trying to sell me the bronzer, and I said I'm not really interested in the bronzer because I prefer creams to powders. And she was like, oh, this is a cream. It's not, it is a powder, but it's a very creamy powder. So it definitely can be built up, and that has just left a gorgeous, gorgeous glow. That's so pretty, and it looks like I haven't even touched the pan. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off camera, just apply some setting spray. I don't have any new setting spray. I'm just going to use a little bit of my Colourpop Glisten Up mist, and I'm going to do my brows and apply some eye primer. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, so brows are done. Very simple. I've just put some Got To Be wax through them, and I've applied my MAC Prep and Prime eye primer. So I have a couple, well, I've got 3 eyeshadow palettes. I have actually ordered a 4th. I've ordered the Beauty Bay autumn release that they did, the Wilderness palette. That was one that I wasn't really interested in when it first came out, but heard loads of good things about it. Very my colour story, the greens and the reds. Not so much interested in the blues, but for £15 I thought I'd pick it up, and of course it was out of stock, and then I had serious FOMO, and I got the I noticed a notification had come up to say that it was back in stock, so I grabbed it. I had a £10 discount, so it only cost me £5 for a 20 pan eyeshadow palette, so bonus. And then I've got another 3 to share with you. I picked up, of course, the new the Muse palette from Jamie Genevieve's brand. I have quite a few of her initial release. I've got some of her lipsticks, her lip liners, the original Essentials palette. I've got the liquid highlighter, and I hadn't picked anything up for a while, but I knew when I saw the promo pics for this palette, I knew I was going to pick it up. So this is the Muse palette. The original Essentials palette is your Essentials, so it's warm tone browns, it's got a black, a light champagne, two very glittery metallic like shimmers, and then one more subdued satin shimmer. This one is your pinks, your rosy tones, very, very autumn in my opinion. The perfect time of year to release this palette, and I actually think combining the Muse and the Essentials palette together would be like a match made in heaven. So that is one of the palettes that I've got to play with. And then I also picked up, finally, I've had it on my wish list since it came out. It was the only one from the collection that I was really, really interested in. And that is the Huda Beauty Wild Obsessions. And this is the Jaguar palette. It's got that interesting cover that sort of like flips dependent on, you know, how you're holding it. This is what it looks like. It's the cool toned baby of the family, and this one really spoke to me, just because it's very different from anything else I have in my collection. So I picked that one up, and then I also picked up on a whim the Sigma Ivy palette. I have the Rosy and the Hazy palette and the larger Ambience palette, and I'd had the Sigma Ivy palette on my wish list, but it wasn't one that I was, you know, all that fussed about. But then it went into the sale on Beauty Bay, so I decided to pick this one up, and I think I paid £19.20 for this with a discount on top of the reduced price. So this is what it looks like. It's got my perfect browns in it for a very neutral brown look, and then my few pops of colour, and green is my favourite colour. So this is absolutely perfect, and I think I am going to be taking this palette on holiday with me. I'm going away for 2 weeks at the end of this month. I will be filming a Shop My Stash for my holiday makeup, but I think this is probably one of the palettes that I'm going to be taking with me. I might also take the Jaguar palette. The only thing is, I've had some Huda Beauty palettes arrive broken, so I'm a little nervous about how they travel, but I thought these would be a really cool pairing. I think today, because I'm considering taking these on holiday with me, I think I'm actually going to use the Muse palette today. So obviously my base is very glowy, very like light and fresh, so I'm not going to do anything super duper intense and smoky, but I do want to do a very autumnal look. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there was a couple of videos that I wanted to film and I couldn't decide which I was going to do first, and one of them was a autumn inspired look, so I think that's what we're going to do with this palette today. So I'll zoom you in a little bit. Hello. And we'll get started. I mean, my base I'm absolutely loving. Really pleased with those two powder products from Glowish. So first of all, I'm going to just in my transition apply some of the lightest matte, which is the shade Peony, and I'm just going to use the big mirror that's in the palette. And I'm going to apply that using a Morphe M441 brush. And the Vive shadows are very, very pigmented and can go wrong quite quickly, in my opinion. If you use too much, I find that they're a shadow formula that you just need to like dip once into. You don't need to sort of like swirl your brush in there. So the next shade that I'm going to go in with is this like rosy toned shade called Love, and I'm going to take that on a slightly small, I've just washed all my brushes actually. I'm going to take it on a slightly smaller brush. This is the Morphe M573, and I'm going into the shade Love, just dipping in lightly, tapping off the excess, and I'm going to start building up some depth in my crease. That's super pretty shade. And if you can hear any noise, I've got like a wood wick candle burning to give me the like the autumn vibes. So, and I'm just blowing this shade out quite far, and it is giving me a decent amount of depth actually, just for that like second transition shade. Okay, and then on an even smaller brush, so this one is the Zoeva Luxe Soft Crease. It's slightly, ever so slightly smaller. I'm going to go into the shade, I think we'll go for Bow, which is this rosy toned brown. So we go for that one, and I'm going to keep that into a smaller area. Because these shades are so pigmented, there is quite a lot of kick up in the pan, but nothing to be too concerned about. And I'm just going to, as I say, lightly build up some depth to the outer corner. And with a small brush, I'm going to take that shade Bow underneath my eye, and I'm just using this small Morphe E18 brush. Just put a wash of that underneath my eye. And then just blend with my bigger brush. And I'm just going to build a little bit more, because I don't want to go too dark. I think Bow is probably going to be the darkest shade that I want to build here. So I'm just going to build it on itself just to add the depth. And then I'm just going to go in with my initial brush that had that shade Love on, and just help create a seamless blend. Okay, and then on my lid, I think there's only 3 shimmers in the palette. There's Divine, which is like a pale pinky champagne. So we've got Divine, then we've got Finery, which is the gold, but it does have a little bit of pink shimmer in there, and then we've got Regal, which is the purple. I think I'm going to go for the gold for Finery. So I'm just going to go in with my finger. I know that I watched Jamie's video about the palette, and she said she had changed the formula in these shimmers a little bit, because the initial shimmers in the Essentials palette were very chunky. They had a lot of glitter fallout and worked a lot better with glitter glue and your finger. And these, I can tell straight away just by touching them, they're much more of a like traditional shimmer. They're not crumbly like the original ones are. They're quite creamy, and they're applying to the lid beautifully, and there's not a lot of fallout, but they've got a lovely sparkle to them. But the shimmers in the original palette, the sparkle was like a chunky glitter, but that just went on absolutely stunning. I'm taking it quite far up so that there's not a lot of base pigment going up here, but there is the shimmer and sparkle. And then on my inner corner, I'm just going to take the Divine shade, which is that light pinky colour, and just highlight this inner corner. And this one is a bit more sparkly and has a little bit of fallout, but not too much. So that's my eyeshadow as I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to go off camera, do this eye, and then I'll probably come back with liner on, but I'll do my mascara on camera. Okay folks, so I finished my eyes off camera. All I've done differently is I added a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Feline Flick in the shade Super Brown, and I did a very thin little line across my lash line and a tiny little wing. I've curled my lashes, and now I'm going to apply my mascara on camera so you can see it. So I mentioned in my previous video that I had been absolutely loving the Dior Iconic Overcurl mascara, and when I ran out of this I was going to pick one up. That was my original plan. But I also had a sample of the Kat Von D Go Big or Go Home, and I let my mum try it. She absolutely loved it. She doesn't like the Dior Iconic Overcurl, and she picked one of these up and picked me one up as well at the same time. So instead of getting the Dior Show Iconic Overcurl, I've got the Kat Von D Go Big or Go Home in the full size. So this mascara is absolutely amazing. It's super volumizing. It has a really thick brush. Packaging's really cool, and I absolutely love this. It says extreme volume and long wear, which I can attest to both of those. So what I'm going to do is, I've still got a little bit of my sample left, so I'm going to, rather than open a fresh tube of mascara, I'm just going to use my sample, and I'm going to do it on camera so you can see the effect. So this is the size of the brush. I'm going to bring you in a bit closer and get to applying. Now I don't use this on my bottom lashes. I only ever use a tubing mascara on my bottom lashes because they're quite long and it does transfer. So I'm sticking to having this on my top lashes. So that's like just one decent coat of the mascara. I'm going to put it on the other eye. I've got a teeny little bit on my bottom lash. And then I'm going to let that dry a little bit, go in for another dip, and we'll do a second coat. So, and this is lovely and buildable, this mascara, doesn't go clumpy. And that's it with a second coat in comparison. So I'm going to go off camera, put a second coat on my other lashes, do my tubing mascara and my bottom lash line, and then we'll come back and we'll finish off this face. Okay, so mascara is on both eyes and on my bottom lashes. I'm just going to quickly put on a little bit of highlight. I haven't got a new highlighter. I'm using my Sparkling Dust for face, eyes and body from Inglot, which is in my shop, my stash. It's just a light champagne gold. This is in the shade 2, I think, yeah, number 2. And I'm just going to put a light dusting of this just on the high points. I'm not going crazy with highlight because I'm quite glowy already, but I do want a little bit of something. There we go, that's enough. And then just to dull it down a tiny bit, because it's quite an intense highlighter that is, I'm just going to take my damp sponge and just help mesh it in to my skin. Okay, and now all that's left to do is blusher and lips. So I have a few options for blusher. So when I picked up the Vive Muse Palette, I also finally picked up 2 of her powder blushes. These were something that I wasn't particularly that bothered by because I've got so many powder blushes already, and I tend to prefer creams, although in the colder months I am easing off a little bit with the creams and going more towards powders. And my good friend Marion from the Glam Donut loves these blushes, so I decided to pick up 2, and I wanted to get some really autumn shades. The one that I initially wanted was the shade Malbec, which is the darkest one, and on closer examination I thought it might be a bit too dark for my skin tone, but I kind of wished I'd picked that one up as well as the 2 that I got. So I got the shade Piazza, which is this lovely rosy brown, absolutely screams autumn. And then I got this one, which is not traditionally autumn, it's more of a spring summer blush. This is the shade Sorbet, but I thought this sort of like bright coral is perfect for all year round, and especially with an eye look like this, this would go perfectly. But I also picked up one of the new Glowish blushes, and this is the one that I want to use today. We've got a bit of a glowish theme going on. So I got the shade Berry Juicy, which is number 3. I was going between shades 3 and 4. I think the 4th one is cherry, is a cherry one. I can't remember what the proper name for it is, but it's got cherry in the name. And that one is like a really bright red pink, which was what I was going for. But again, same with the shade Malbec from Vive. I thought it might be a bit too dark, so I went for the one down, she's only brought out 4 shades, which is a little bit disappointing. It would have been good if she brought out a bit of a better variety, because they go from like super pale peach to a really deep berry or a red. And the beauty YouTuber Babs Beauty, she swatched all 4 shades on her cheek, and there wasn't much of a differentiation between the 2 lightest and the 2 darkest. So the 2 lightest looked very similar to one another, and the 2 darkest looked very similar to one another. And especially being autumn, it would have been nice to see some more like terracotta tones, a nice bright deep orange, you know, that sort of thing. But anyway, I went for Berry Juicy, which is shade number 3. And I'm going to use a little bit of this today. I don't know how pigmented these are, and as this is one of the deeper tones, I'm going to go in with a cautious hand to begin with. I've literally just tapped in and quite a bit came off on the brush, so I'm going to tap it off on the back of my hand. Okay, I can be a bit more brave now I know what the pigmentation is like. So the pigment is there, but it's definitely buildable. It's quite customizable. As you can see, I've got quite a bit on my cheek. It's not as bright in real life as it is on camera, and these do have a bit of a glow like the bronzer, not as much as the powder. And I'm just going to take it here to give like a natural, just being outside kind of vibe. But yeah, that's the blush. Really like that. It's probably the thing I've been least impressed with so far. This is my first time using it, so I don't know how it wears or what it looks like with, you know, other base products. Obviously I've got quite a bit of a glow going on already from the powder and the bronzer. But yeah, I quite like it. It's something I think I need to reserve judgment on for now, I think, but I like it. It's nice. It just hasn't blown my socks off on initial application. Okay, and lastly for lips, so I'm just going to wipe off this lip maximizer that I've got on, which is the shade number 1, which is Universal Pink. And as you can see, it just plumps up my lips ever so slightly, but fills in any lines. And I'm going to quickly line with the shade Chestnut from MAC. This is a really deep chestnut brown. And now I'm going to go in with the lip maximizer in beige, just over the top. And it's very similar to the I didn't want one that had got a lot of colour, because it's something that I use at the start of my makeup routine, but I wanted something that would sort of go over any lip liner, go over any lip colour, that I could wear it just on its own, like as at the start of my routine, or like this, whoop, for something a bit more glam. So it's a little bit more milky than shade 1. It's like a milky nude, which is, you know, as you would expect, the name is beige. It's absolutely perfect. So I'm so happy with how this look has come out. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer. I decided not to use the Hula Glow because I think I've got enough glow going on. So just bring you in a little bit. I'm super happy with how this eye look has come out. I think it's really enhanced the colour of my eyes. But yeah, so that's it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and I hope you stuck around until the end. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It means the absolute world to me. I love chatting to you in the comments and getting to know you, following you on Instagram, all that sort of thing. So like I say, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. Give me a like, leave me a comment. Keep loving yourself, keep loving each other. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks guys, bye.